his food. His golden-green eyes wide, he stared over my shoulder and semi-crouched, his muscles tense as though ready to flee. I looked around slowly, wondering what was agitating him. A gaunt face stared at us through the window of the kitchen door. Wet hair plastered the head of the man outside, and in the dark, his head looked more like a skull than a living person. Raindrops on the glass distorted the image. A scream rose through my throat, drowned out by the shrill whistle of the kettle. My heart thundered as I realized it was too late to turn off the lights and pretend no one was home. Grabbing my cell phone off the table, I started backing away.
"Sophie, let me in out of the rain."
I felt a total fool when I recognized Humphrey's voice. I took a closer look before I opened the door. "I'm sorry, Humphrey. I didn't recognize you." He stopped just inside, and water dripped off his black raincoat into a major puddle. But before I managed to shut the door, Nina Reed Norwood, my neighbor and best friend, barged past him, demanding, "Where have you been?" I retrieved towels and handed one to Humphrey. After I sopped up the water on the floor, I reached for his raincoat and stifled a laugh. Thin, pale Humphrey usually looked meek, but after being towel-dried, his silvery blonde hair stood up in spikes, and he resembled a deranged punk rocker. Nina didn't remove her coat. "I'm not that wet." I hung Humphrey's coat in the bathroom, and when I returned, I thought Moki was stalking him. Low to the floor, he stretched out one foot slowly, like a panther. "Awk!" A green head with a bright yellow patch on the back of its neck emerged from Nina's coat. "She's a witch!" the bird screamed at Moki, who drew back in alarm. Nina shrugged off her coat and let the bird climb onto her shoulder. "Meet Hank." Humphrey shrank back, as appalled as Moki. "Hank?" "He sings Hank Williams songs. Someone found him on a park bench on King Street, and I'm fostering him because we're not set up for big birds at the shelter. He's a yellow-naped Amazon parrot. Apparently they're big talkers."
"You're keeping him in your home?"
Humphrey didn't disguise his distaste.
"Birds are so dirty. How do you know he's not carrying a disease?"
Who knew Humphrey would be so finicky about a bird? "Excuse me, but as a mortician, don't you embalm people who died from diseases?"
"That's entirely different. Birds belong in the wild."
"Someone must be looking for Hank," I said. "There can't be too many birds who sing country songs." "That's what I think." Nina settled at the table, Hank still on her shoulder, Moki eyeing him warily. "So where have you been? Why aren't you answering your phone? Do you have any cheese pretzels? I need something comforting to eat. You will not believe what happened." "I've been at Rooms and Blooms. Cell phones don't work in the convention center of the hotel. Something about the steel and the way it's constructed." I poured soothing lavender chamomile tea into mugs and found a stash of my homemade pretzels in the freezer. After starting the oven, I placed the mugs on the table and noted that Humphrey sat as far away from Hank as he could. As I sliced strips of Asiago cheese, I glanced from Nina to Humphrey. It was closing in on 11. What were they doing here anyway? What was so important? Nina leaned forward. "I am so furious." "She's a witch! A witch!" cawed Hank. "Last fall, my husband testified on a murder case involving insulin that made the news every day. As a result, he was asked to go on a cruise as an instructor." She waved a hand carelessly. "I didn't go because it's business. He's teaching a class to doctors. But I just found out that the woman who organized the course used to work with